Hi, I'm Corey.
Hi, I'm Tess.
Welcome to A Lovely Place.
We're so glad you've joined us as we invite Jesus into the midst of our lives, learning, and laughter.
We hope this podcast can encourage your heart and make you smile today.
Hello, my friend Corey. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Hello, my friend Tess. I'm glad to be here with you today.
I am glad too. This is one of the highlights of my week because I love getting quality time with you and I love learning together. That is one of my favorite things to do. So I'm glad that we're both here. And welcome to any of our listeners today. We're excited you're here too. Just as a reminder, we are reading through The Lazy Genius Way by Kendra Adachi. And it's been a good journey so far, I think. I'm really loving the book and just feel like it's giving me good strategies to better connect with my family and be more present in what I'm doing. So
yeah, I feel less like a circly chicken. Okay, wait, I have a plan. Oh yeah, remember what was the plan?
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So this morning I was practicing Kendra's batching principle, which is to find tasks that you do over and over and over again and do them all at the same time.
Yes.
And so I was batching breakfast. I was making like some hot breakfast options that I can just heat up in the mornings because I know that usually the mornings are busy. And so anything to get food into my body because I get grumpy if I haven't eaten. And so I've been doing that. And then I even tested out her idea for cleaning the kitchen. So I cleaned the kitchen table first, like the whole thing. And then I cleaned the bar area in our kitchen and then got that fully clean. And it did feel like, whew, that's good. Because I usually struggle with I call it ADD cleaning. I don't know if I actually have ADD, but it's like I'll see one thing and go put that away and then I'll see something else somewhere and it's just kind of turns into crazy and then I don't feel like I've gotten anything done. So I found the batching to be helpful this morning as I was getting ready to be here with you.
Yeah,
So
I think about her when I'm loading my dishwasher because she don't load it till you're ready to, or else you're playing Tetris. And I'm like, I'm playing Tetris again. But it's just but I'm learning because I've minimized so many things that it's like, okay, if I put the plates in this part of the dishwasher and this is for the cups and this, it's like there's a routine of loading the dishwasher. So then it works out and it's fine. But I think about that too, when she said that, one at a time. Yeah.
Right. And it seems like it goes faster that way and you don't have to think about it as much. There's not as much brain processing, which I think is the point of why she suggests doing batching is to,
Have you done any batching with your laundry yet?
I did a little bit this morning. So we've done something that I heard from, I think the Purpose Show is possibly what it's called. I'll link it in the show notes. But she talks about attaching things that you do to things that you already do. And so we wash a load of laundry every night. That's just what we do when we go to bed. We wash a load and kind of keep it going that way. So I don't batch it necessarily in the way Kendra talks about it. But when I was putting it away today, I did that. So I sorted it and put all the towels in one spot, put all the pants, and then folded them according to their category instead of just pulling one item out and folding it.
Yeah.
So that seemed to work well. I liked that way of putting it away. It went a little bit faster. So
I can't decide if I like that on the front end or the back end. I do. I change it up sometimes. Oh, didn't batch it at the beginning and batched it now.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that was a random load of laundry.
Right.
It's just, But it is much nicer when it's all Riker's clothes or our clothes, because and I think they probably wash better not being little and big things.
Yeah.
One of my shirts got mixed in with his clothes, though, and Riker was like, Mom, I don't recognize this shirt. And it was inside out and stuff. I'm like, well, buddy, that's Mommy's shirt. So I'll take that one.
That's funny.
It was really cute.
One time Jackson he somehow won a pair of my socks, made it into his room,
Okay.
and he put them on one day. And of course, that was the day he decided to go play out in the mud in his socks.
Nice.
He came inside and I was like, those aren't your socks. Those are my socks. And they're covered in mud. Oh, anyway. So, one of the other principles that we wanted to talk about today is essentializing. So, Kendra talks about this in her book. She gets it from another book, and I can't remember the
Greg
author's name.
McEwen.
There we go. We'll link him in the show notes as well.
I was thinking that could even be one of the books we do sometime.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. So, I want to know, how have you gone about like discovering what is important to you, like what matters to you, and then what is essential to those things? Because that's kind of what he talks about in his book and what Kendra talks about too.
Yeah, and I've read Kendra's book now. This is twice, and I listened to Greg's book twice also. And so I feel like I should have this answer down pat. But I'm like, I don't. So I'm still lazy geniusing it. But what I keep coming back to is peace in my heart and home is like the overarching goal. So I'm like, okay, I'm realizing this now, and this kind of stemmed from a personality quiz that Stefan and I took in a marriage seminar. The flag page, I think. Gil and Brenda Stewart do that with their Restored and Remarried ministry. That's a whole other. We could have a whole podcast on there. Anyways, way to go, Brenda and Gil. And then, but Stefan was from Peaceland and I was from Funland in that, and I don't remember what the other two lands were, but it was like geography kind of thing. So Stefan loves it when it's peaceful and not frantic or like that chicken I was talking about earlier, running around all crazy and probably pecking at things I shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that if I'm peaceful and the home is peaceful, then that leaves room for more fun. I thrive on. So I keep coming back to that. And mostly that comes from my inside attitude. Like this morning, getting ready, was back to school for everybody. And the timeline was getting a little short. And I'm like, all right, we got to go. But I'm like, okay, don't feel frantic. It's okay. And don't rile up Riker because he's going to be riled up too. So I just was quiet in my head and peaceful and just did what we had to do and breathe.
That's good.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, maybe I don't have it like exactly down pat, but I guess peace in my heart and home is a good essential. I guess it just feels broad. How about you?
Yeah. Well, but I think that's good. Well, so I was going to say the thing she says to, or that the book says to ask or name what really matters. So for you, you're saying peace in your home and your heart. And then 2, remove what's in the way and keep only the essentials. So like, what are some ways what are some things that come in the way of you having peace in your heart and home? And then how do you, kind of keep the things that matter?
I think it's when I get going with the list that it's like there's 20 things on the list that I think I need to do. And it's like, no, I don't need to do that. And I only need to get Riker's sandwich made right now. And I need to put some clothes on. And then we need to go. Like, I don't need to do the other 20 things that were in my head. Like, oh, that would be nice if I did that. And it's like, no, we don't need to do that right now. That's not essential to getting out the door and going to school. Like, so I just have to remember what I'm doing in that moment and not try to do tomorrow's moment or worry about, oh, we're recording a podcast today. I need to get my head wrapped around. Like, no, we can't think about that yet. We can think about that in the car when we're driving to school, but not right now. So
yes,
usually I'm what's in the way, I
That's
guess.
good.
My to-do list is in the way.
Or like that mental noise that kind of comes with the to-do list.
I think, wasn't there a quote in there too? That was a good one.
I'm sure there was. There's a lot of quotes. I've been underlining in this book like crazy.
on 148 was true fulfillment comes from subtraction from removing everything that distracts you from what matters and leaving only what's essential. But I was like, subtraction?
Yeah.
What? Who would have thought that? Like, not adding. So I need to subtract. So that's my remove what's in the way is too much adding, multiplying. I need to subtract.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I think to come back to what I talked about last podcast, that the word that Jesus keeps kind of like showing to me is connection, And so I feel like that's one of the essential, or one of the most important things to me. So now I'm trying to figure out like what's in the way of that and what is essential to connection. And I think this has been a constant thing for the last few years. I'm realizing my stuff comes in the way of connection. Or I guess too much stuff, like you said, like adding and but possessions get in the way of me connecting with my family because I also like peace in my home. Like I want my environment. I'm very visually distracted. And so when our home is messy and, and I know I have kids, so messy is kind of just sometimes the way it's going to be. But when it builds up and it doesn't like go back to a clean slate, at the end of the day, then that I just feel very on edge. And so I think that one of the things that is in the way of connection for me is all the stuff. And so that's kind of, we've been doing the whole decluttering thing for a while now, you and I. But I still just think it's like an ongoing journey. So yeah. And then one of the principles in the book, which kind of goes along this vein here, is to let people in, So one of the things that Kendra talks about is even if your house is messy, even if it doesn't look perfect like you may want it to, that it's important to invite people into your space. And when you are okay with things not being perfect, it gives other people the permission to not feel like they have to be perfect too, which I think is huge. So, yeah. Anyway, you wanted to say a little something about letting people in. What was standing out to you about that this week?
Well, just I like what you were saying about the don't apologize. Because then it's like you're creating more space to let people in and letting them into your mess, whether it's a literal mess with stuff on the counter or it's your mess of your emotions that you're feeling at that moment that feel tangled up. And it's like, okay, well, how can I let people into that? And then I think the key too, and I'm thankful for you that you are one of my people. I can text you with anything. And the other night when I was texting you and I was just like, bah! And I'm just like, I don't even think I texted you earlier today. So I just like started with here's my situation. and then I was like, and then hopefully I said, oh, how are you doing? Like after the fact, but I'm just glad that, and my encouragement is to hope everybody has a couple of people that you're letting into your mess and not apologizing for it. And I just thank you for being in that space with me and helping me, like, I don't know what it is, just process, I guess, or you're not alone. You're going to be okay. Like, yes. Oh yeah, I think I was teasing a little bit, like, thanks for the or the after hours counseling session.
Yes.
So it's like, but it feels good when you do have people in. So it's like, I like how Kendra was talking about, okay, this is a vulnerable situation. And she's had different pain points in her story. And I like how she's transparent about that. And then it's like, okay, this is how we transition to real life and being real people.
Yes.
And, yeah. So
yeah,
I like that.
That reminds me of our one of our other favorite podcasts, the Being Known podcast with Kurt and Pepper, and how they talk about, how important it is to share your story with others, but also they talk a lot about how when you share something with someone else that you feel shame about, and they respond with compassion and love and understanding, and they turn towards you, that reduces the amount of energy you have to use to like feel like you're hiding that thing that you feel shame about, because someone else has seen it and they still love you. And so I think that applies to things in our hearts, but also things in our home, like when we can invite someone in and just, this is my mess, and them to say, I still like to be here with you, because then it's like, oh, okay, I don't have to worry so much about that, So I appreciate that you're my friend, that I can be open and honest with about things that sometimes are hard to share. So, Jesus was reminding me this week. So I was reflecting back on the holidays, and we were visiting a lot of family in California, and there was a lot of us in the house all the time. And so I didn't get much quiet time, which is usually how I like to spend time with God. And so I really didn't spend time with God at all. And I was like, just feeling kind of crummy, not crummy like guilty, but crummy because I feel better when I spend time with God. And I was reminded that Jesus wants to be invited into our mess too. And the loudness and the crazy. I think it's so important to go off and be by yourself and have quiet time the way that Jesus did. But he also reminded me that he is the God that loves to party. Like he always is, at parties and having parties and banquets and lots of people. And so he wants to be part of that too. And even though it feels chaotic to me, how can I invite him into those spaces as well? So that was a good reminder for me, and something that I want to keep thinking on. Like, how can I invite Jesus in when things don't feel peaceful? And maybe I can't make my environment fully peaceful. How can I, keep him there with me?
Well, and I was thinking about that too. We went tubing and we were on the mountain. And I think during the time I was appreciating the beauty of the creation in that time, in that moment. And it was layered on with the excitement and a little bit of stress of doing something new and a little bit risky going down this hill on a tube. Like, what?
Yeah.
But I was just like, and then on the way back, I don't remember what Riker asked us, but something. And then we were talking about heaven. And I was just like, eternity felt like such a different contrast to the moment the three of us were having tubing down a hill. Like, it was like, I couldn't figure out how to put those together. Like, it was like, okay, heaven and hanging out with Jesus, is that going to be like tubing? Like, we're hanging out with him and we happen to be in the snow? Or is it always going to be tropical? Like, it just was like, I was just like going in these like circles, like, but I like that idea of like, how can we keep inviting him in, that he's our person, he's in with this adventure, I guess, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But, so then maybe now I'm just thinking like that feeling of I just had to trust in the silly tube that I was sitting in, that I would go down the hill in that tube, like,
yes,
not that I was putting all my faith in that, but just like how we trust in God, like, all right, it's kind of a wild ride sometimes. Like,
yes,
here we go. Wah! Like, so maybe that's just it, of just being aware of him.
Yeah. And it's so funny that you were talking about that, because as I was laying Rihanna down for nap today, I was thinking about how Jesus tells us to have faith like the little children, and thinking about with, little kids, like Rihanna right now loves to be picked up and then dipped down backwards and kind of hang there for a little bit and then be lifted back up. And now she just starts flailing backwards like, this is fun and you're going to catch me. And it just, I don't know. It makes me laugh because kids are just so in the moment, first of all. Like, they're not worried. I mean, maybe when they get to a certain age, they're worried about what's happening next. But, like toddlers, they're just in the moment
Yeah.
and are so trusting and are also always having fun or always trying to have fun. So I'm like, there has to be something to that, to the whole playing and having fun thing. I think that Daniel and I were talking about that the other day, that God, one of the emotions that God has is delight.
Yeah.
So that's a good emotion for us to try to, cultivate in our lives, because he delights, and so we can delight too and have joy. So
Yeah. Well, and I think that goes back to the letting people in then. And that's what Jesus did over and over again. He let his 12 disciples in to his world, and then the multitudes, and then, not like you were saying, he pulled back again and had time to pray with just God. So there was the different things, and so he was all about connection. And so then how can we emulate that? And it's like, okay, we're connecting with the people we're standing by, and then in the inner tubing line. Like that is, that's letting people in, like having that moment, and then inviting people over for dinner. I like Kendra's thing where she was like, it doesn't matter what it is that you're doing, just have some snacks. They can eat dinner later if they're really hungry and you didn't have enough food. That's not the point. Like,
yeah.
So it just is like encouraging that it doesn't have to be perfect.
Yes.
But to create moments of connection with other people and share that kindness. Because I think that's what we're missing.
Yeah, it's true.
A lot of the time.
Yes. Especially right now. Feels like so many people are isolated, feel isolated. All right, friend. Well, I've been so excited to just be here with you today. I know you had some closing things you wanted to say or that you wanted to read. So
yeah, I just keep going back. I like that Soul Space app. I think I've mentioned it before. Yeah. And this was from a couple days ago, Psalm 91. And I just wanted to read 1-4 because I just felt like, why try to summarize? It's 4 verses. We can do that. Anyways. And then it made me think of a lovely place that we're creating with Jesus and with each other and with all the listeners. And then here, he who dwells in the secret place of the Most High, that's a lovely place, shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I will trust. Surely he will deliver me from the snare of the fowler and from the perilous pestilence. He shall cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you shall take refuge. His truth shall be your shield and buckler. And I just love that the picture of he'll cover you with his feathers. And I was just like feeling anxious as the new year has rolled around, and just like trying to figure out all the things, and the to-do list feels like it's 30 things, 40 things to do. And it's like, okay, no, peanut butter and jelly sandwich, go to school. Like, just really simple. And so I just felt like, as I was in the car preparing today for this, I just felt like God was just reminding me, like, he's covering us no matter what 2022 brings. Yeah. We get to be covered by him and in that place with him. And then we can have that connection with him. We can have peace with him. And he says it in his word. Hey, hang out with me. Okay, let him in. I just love that. Like, that's what's essential. Yeah. If we can, so but it's not like a box. It doesn't have to be like 12 pages that you read and you write down all the verses. It's like, okay, we're in a relationship, which seems like how is that even possible? But beside that, just like we get to be with him, like you and I are together, and invite Jesus in, like, hey, how you doing, Jesus? Like, why don't we do that more? Like, to be like walking around with him like the disciples did. They did a lot of walking. I talk a lot when I'm walking. Like, so they were talking and hanging out. Like, I don't know. Yeah. So anyways, that was just on my head and heart of.
That's good.
Yeah.
I like that. All right. Well, one of the things we wanted to remind people of today is that you can check out our Facebook page. We will link that in the show notes. And we've been trying to post some things on there that can get people, just like talking and learning from each other, because that's one of the big things we want from our podcast. So you can check us out there and see what's going on. And then we did our giveaway for a book, for the book. Yes. And my friend Stephanie won that. And she's a mom.
Congrats.
Yes. She's a mom of 2 young kids. So I think it'll be a good book for her to maintain her sanity, because when you got 2 little kids, it always feels crazy.
Yeah.
And then, we've just been excited about some of our listeners and their feedback. Did you want to share some of that?
Yeah, I was getting to message with Kristen Sickler, and that was super fun and encouraging. And she was saying, I'm going to buy the Lazy Genius book because I really like it. So I just thought that was cool. And then a friend from church here in Spokane, Jessica, she said, I was laughing with you and then crying with you. And so I just thought how cool that we get to connect and no matter where we're at. And it just, I just love that. So
yes.
Thanks for listening. And my mom was listening. Hi, Mom.
Oh, and our friend Lacey from San Diego, who was in our Real Moms group when we first started listening to podcasts together.
Yes. There's so many circles of letting people in. Yes. I love it.
All right, friend. Well, thank you for chatting with me today. And we will talk again soon.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.